Most people will never be truly loved, not because they are unlovable, but because they never learn the one thing that makes love possible. And no, it is not looks, it is not status, it is not charm or confidence or the perfect opening line. It is something far simpler, far more ancient, and almost no one is using it. Carl Jung spent decades studying what drives human beings toward each other and away from each other. What he found wasn't complicated. It was 6 words. 6 specific words that, when spoken with intention and sincerity, change the entire architecture of a conversation. They don't just shift what someone feels in the moment. They shift how someone remembers you, how someone thinks of you when you're not in the room, how someone wakes up in the middle of the night and finds your name surfacing in their mind without knowing why. This is not manipulation. This is not a pickup trick or a negotiation hack pulled from a corporate seminar. This is psychology. This is the accumulated weight of Carl Jung's life work on the unconscious mind, human connection, and the invisible forces that pull people together or push them apart. And once you understand these 6 words, really understand them, not just intellectually, but in your body, in your tone, in the way you hold yourself in a conversation, you will never approach another human being the same way again. Because here is the truth that most people are too afraid to say out loud. Connection is not something that happens to you. It is something you create word by word, moment by moment, breath by breath. And the people who understand this, the ones who know how to make another soul feel seen, felt, and remembered, those are the people who are never truly alone. They are the ones others orbit, the ones others can't stop thinking about, the ones who don't chase love because love finds its way back to them. So stay with me, because what you are about to learn will not just change how you communicate, it will change who you become in the lives of the people around you. Word number 1, tell me. There is a discovery in neuroscience that most people walk past without stopping to absorb what it actually means. When a person talks about themselves, their experiences, their thoughts, their feelings, the brain releases dopamine, the same neurotransmitter associated with pleasure, reward, and motivation, the same chemical released when you eat something delicious, when you accomplish something you've been working toward, when you hear a song that reaches inside you and squeezes. Do you understand what that means? It means that every time someone shares something personal with you, they are not just transmitting information, they are having a pleasurable neurological experience. And your presence is part of that experience. You become associated with that feeling, with warmth, with reward, with something that feels good to return to. And the 2 words that unlock that experience are simply tell me. Not what did you do today? Cold, transactional, the kind of question you answer out of obligation, but tell me. Open, soft, genuinely curious. Tell me what happened. Tell me what you've been thinking about. Tell me the best thing that crossed your mind this week. The difference is not just grammatical, it is energetic. One closes, the other opens. When you say tell me, you are not interrogating. You are inviting. You are signaling, without needing to say it explicitly, that what this person is about to share matters to you, that you have made space for it, that you are not in a hurry to redirect the conversation back to yourself. And in a world where almost everyone is waiting for their turn to speak, a person who genuinely invites you to be heard feels like oxygen. Think about a dinner table. Everyone talking over each other, waiting for a pause to insert their own story, their own opinion, their own update. Now imagine one person at that table who pauses, looks at you directly and says, "Tell me what's been on your mind lately." Not because they have to, not to seem polite, because they actually want to know. That person becomes magnetic, not because of how they look or what they've achieved, but because they made you feel like the most interesting person in the room. And here is the core of Jungian psychology applied to human connection. Real attraction does not begin with the body. It begins the moment someone feels heard. The moment someone thinks consciously or not, with this person, I am safe to be myself. Tell me is the door. And once that door is open, something begins to build between 2 people. that no amount of clever conversation can manufacture. If you've ever had someone look at you and say, "Tell me everything," and actually mean it, drop one in the comments. Because 111 is the frequency of new beginnings. And the moment someone truly hears you for the first time is exactly that, a new beginning. Word number 2, I understand. Of all the things a human being hungers for, Jung believed this was the deepest and most often unfed. The experience of being truly understood. Not agreed with, not complimented, not fixed, understood. The sense that what you feel is not crazy, not excessive, not embarrassing, but real and recognized and worthy of acknowledgement. I understand is not an agreement. It is not a promise that you have lived the same experience or arrived at the same conclusion. It is something more powerful than that. It is a bridge. It says, I see where you are standing. I recognize what this costs you. I am not going to argue you out of your own experience. And that simple act of emotional recognition dissolves walls that years of conflict have built. Think about how many times you have responded to someone's pain in exactly the wrong way. Someone says, "I'm exhausted," and you say, "Me too." Someone says, "I've had the worst day," and you say, "At least you have a job." In both of those moments, you didn't mean to dismiss them, but you did because the instinct to relate, to compare, to problem solve, all of it moves the conversation away from the person who is hurting and towards something else. And in that movement, a wall goes up. Small, almost invisible, but there. Now, replay the same moment with 2 words. The person says, "I've had the worst day," and you slow down. You look at them and you say, "I understand." That sounds genuinely exhausting. One breath, one moment of stillness, and everything changes. The tension drops. The person doesn't feel like they need to defend their feelings or explain themselves. They feel seen. And when someone feels seen, they relax, they open, they trust. Carl Jung wrote extensively about the shadow, the parts of ourselves we hide because we fear they won't be accepted. I understand is one of the few phrases that gives the shadow permission to breathe. It signals safety. And safety, emotional safety, is the most seductive thing one human being can offer another. More than beauty, more than success, more than wit. There is something that happens in therapy that confirms this again and again. People arrive carrying enormous weight, grief, shame, confusion, anger they don't know what to do with. And before any technique, before any framework or reframing, the thing that shifts the entire room is a simple, unhurried "I understand just that," and the person exhales. Sometimes for the first time in years because the loneliness cracked. And when loneliness cracks, the heart opens toward whoever is standing nearby. Consider a couple. One partner says, "It bothers me that we never make time for each other anymore." The defensive response, "I work so hard. Don't you see that?" is a wall. It protects the ego and destroys the connection in the same breath. But if the other partner pauses, breathes, and says, "I understand why that hurts you," it must feel like we're becoming strangers. The entire atmosphere of that conversation shifts. What was a complaint becomes an opportunity. What was a wound becomes a bridge. Attraction, the deep, lasting kind, is not born from perfection. It is born from the experience of feeling truly understood by another person. And once someone has felt that with you, they will keep coming back to the place where it lives. Drop 777 in the comments if you've ever had someone truly understand you and felt something shift inside you in that moment. 777 is the frequency of alignment, of things clicking into place. That's exactly what genuine understanding creates. Word number 3, thank you. We say it automatically at the checkout counter in response to a held door at the end of a meeting when everyone is already halfway out of their chair. It has become so habitual that it has nearly lost its charge. But strip away the reflex and what remains is one of the most potent forces in human connection. Gratitude is a mirror. When you thank someone genuinely, specifically with eye contact, and without rushing past it, you are holding up a reflection of who they are in your life. You are showing them that they register that their presence, their effort, their small gestures were not invisible. And something in every human being is starving for exactly that to matter, to have made a difference even in a small way in the life of another person. Jung understood that the psyche does not simply respond to what is said. It responds to what is felt beneath what is said. A hollow thanks lands hollow, but a thank you that carries genuine recognition, that communicates because of you something in my day was better. That lands in the body. It is remembered. It changes the emotional architecture of the relationship. Think of a time you did something for someone. Something that took thought or effort or courage and received nothing. Silence or a distracted nod, or the implicit message that it was simply expected. That absence stings in a particular way, not because you needed praise, but because your effort went unwitnessed. And things that go unwitnessed feel like they didn't matter, like you didn't matter. Now recall a moment when someone looked directly at you and said, "Thank you for being there. You made me feel less alone," and you still remember it. The specificity of it, the weight of it, that is the power of genuine gratitude. It does not fade. It becomes part of the story someone tells themselves about who you are. But gratitude does something else, something rarely mentioned. It transforms the person expressing it. When you practice noticing what is worthy of acknowledgement in another person, not performing appreciation, but actually training your attention toward what is good, your energy changes. The frequency you carry changes. You become someone who radiates something warm and uncommon, and that radiation is profoundly attractive. Nobody wants to be around someone who is perpetually dissatisfied, who notices only what is missing, who takes the people around them for granted. But everyone wants to be near the person who sees beauty in ordinary moments, who acknowledges effort without being asked, who makes you feel in their company that you are worth something. A single message, someone reaches out. You could reply, "Okay," or you could reply, "Thank you for thinking of me. That genuinely made my day." The words take 3 seconds longer to write. The effect lasts for days. Word number 4, imagine. There are words that exist in the present, and there are words that reach into the future and pull it toward you. Imagine belongs to the second category, and its power lies in something Jung spent years documenting. The mind does not draw a clean line between what is real and what is vividly imagined. This is not poetic exaggeration. Neuroscientists have confirmed what athletes and performers have known for decades. Visualizing an experience activates many of the same neural pathways as actually living it. Olympic athletes rehearse every movement in their minds before their bodies perform it, because the brain is already practicing, already experiencing, already believing. Now bring this into a conversation. When you invite someone to imagine something, especially something that includes you, you are doing something extraordinary. You are placing them inside an experience that hasn't happened yet and letting their nervous system begin to feel it as if it has. You are making the future feel familiar, comfortable, desirable. And desire at its core is just familiarity that hasn't arrived yet. There is a difference between saying that restaurant looks good and saying, "Imagine the two of us there, trying everything on the menu, staying until they turn the lights off, laughing about something we can't even explain yet." The first is an observation. The second is a scene. And scenes create longing because what draws people toward each other is not only what they have already shared, but the vividness of what they could share together. Someone says, "I've always wanted to travel more." The conversation can stay there in the abstract, in the individual, in the wish that has no shape yet. Or you can say, "Imagine us just wandering through some old city, no agenda, stumbling into a market, eating something neither of us can pronounce, taking photographs we'll look at for years." And suddenly, it's not their wish anymore. It's a shared future, a place you are both already standing in, at least in the imagination. And the imagination, as Jung would remind us, is not separate from reality. It is the place where reality begins. Use imagine with honesty and warmth, not as a manipulation, but as a genuine invitation to vision build together. And you will find that people don't just respond to what you're saying. They start to feel something they can't entirely articulate. a pull, a leaning in, a quiet hope that what was imagined might become real. Word number 5, we. Of all the words on this list, this one may be the smallest in letters and the largest in implication. One syllable, 2 letters, and the power to collapse the distance between two separate people into something shared, something mutual, something that neither person would have had alone. Most people speak in I think, I feel, I want, I need. The entire conversation centered on the self with the other person present as an audience. And there is nothing wrong with this. Self-expression is necessary, even vital. But the person who learns to speak in we genuinely, not performatively, creates something entirely different. Our shared world, a space where both people exist not as individuals comparing notes, but as collaborators in something larger than either of them. Jung wrote about the fundamental human need for belonging, the deep biological pull toward being part of something beyond the isolated self. We are not wired for pure individuality. We are wired for tribe, for partnership, for the experience of being held within a way that makes the weight of existence more bearable. And when someone offers you that, when someone's language naturally includes you, makes room for you, treats your presence as a given rather than a guest, it is one of the most disarming gifts one person can offer another. I want to go to the coast this weekend is a statement. What do you think we'd find if we just drove to the coast this weekend? No plan, just see where we end up is an invitation. The first keeps you separate. The second makes you part of the story before the story has even begun. And something in the human nervous system responds to that invitation with a warmth that is almost involuntary. We signals safety. It signals continuity. It says, I am already imagining a future in which you are present. And for anyone who has ever felt like a footnote in someone else's life, which is most of us at some point, being placed at the center of a we feels like coming home. Use this word with sincerity, not strategy. When it is genuine, it creates belonging. And belonging is what every human heart, no matter how defended, no matter how independent it claims to be, is quietly, persistently searching for. Drop 520 in the comments if you've ever felt what it's like to finally be someone's we. In Chinese numerology, 520 sounds like, I love you. It is the number of genuine belonging, and belonging is exactly what this word carries. Word number 6, I remember. There are words that operate in the present moment, and there are words that move through time that reach back into the past, retrieve something and carry it forward into now as evidence. Evidence that something mattered. Evidence that you mattered. Evidence that the moments shared between two people did not simply dissolve into the noise of ordinary life, but were kept, held, valued enough to be preserved. I remember is that kind of word. When you tell someone, I remember the first time you laughed like that, I thought I need to hear that again. You are doing something that no compliment, no gift, no grand gesture can replicate. You are showing someone that they left a mark. Not just a general impression, but a specific, detailed, living memory that you chose to carry. And the experience of knowing you left a mark in another person, that your presence was significant enough to be remembered, is one of the most profound feelings a human being can have. Jung believed that the psyche is not linear, that time, memory, and meaning are not stored in separate compartments, but woven together into something continuous. When you remember something about another person, especially something small, something they may have forgotten themselves, you are weaving their past into your present. You are saying what we shared was not temporary. It became part of me. Think of the difference between that was a good conversation and I remember what you said that night about feeling like you were always waiting for your real life to begin. I've thought about that so many times since. The first acknowledges a moment. The second immortalizes it. The first is pleasant. The second is unforgettable because you didn't just remember the event, you remembered them. The specific texture of who they were in that moment and why it stayed with you. This is what separates fleeting connections from the ones that shape a life. Not the intensity of the beginning, not the chemistry of the first meeting, but the accumulation of remembered moments. The proof built slowly over time that another person has been paying attention, that they have been carrying you with them even when you weren't in the room. In a romantic context, "It was nice talking to you" is forgettable. "I remember you mentioned you always wanted to learn to paint. Have you ever tried?" is not because you didn't just listen, you held on to it. And being held on to by another person, even in something as small as a remembered detail, feels like being loved in the truest sense of the word. Drop 33 in the comments if someone remembering a small detail about you has ever made you feel more seen than any grand declaration could. 33 is one of the most powerful numbers in Jungian symbolism. The number of full human expression of depth made real. A remembered detail is exactly that depth made real. Now we come to the seventh element. Not a word, a principle. The one that determines whether everything above actually works or collapses into performance. Intention. You can say, "Tell me a 100 times. If you are not actually interested in the answer, the person will feel it. Not always consciously, but somewhere beneath language, in the way your eyes drift, in the half-second pause before you respond. In the flatness of your follow-up question, they will feel that your curiosity was costume, not conviction. You can say, "I understand," with perfect timing and zero sincerity. And instead of opening a door, you will close one. Because the human nervous system is, as Jung understood, an extraordinarily sensitive instrument. We have spent hundreds of thousands of years learning to detect deception, reading microsignals in faces and voices and posture that bypass conscious processing entirely. We don't always know why we don't trust someone. We just feel that something is off. And that feeling is almost never wrong. This is why the words alone are never enough. They are the vessel. Intention is what fills them. And when the vessel is full, when what you say is genuinely aligned with what you feel, something shifts in the energetic quality of the conversation. The other person cannot name it, but they experience it. A settling, a softening, a quiet certainty that they are in the presence of someone real. And real is the rarest thing in the world. Consistency is the companion of intention because it is one thing to create a moment of genuine connection. It is another to be someone whose connection can be relied upon, who shows up the same way across different moods, different days, different levels of exhaustion or stress. Not perfectly. No one is asking for that. But recognizably, stably. The person who is magnetic one day and cold the next does not create attraction. They create anxiety, and anxiety sustained long enough corrodes even the strongest connection, because what the nervous system needs, what every human being quietly requires in order to truly open, is the felt sense of safety, the knowledge built through evidence that this person will not suddenly become someone else. Rhythm matters too. The rhythm of a conversation, when to speak and when to be still, when to ask and when simply to listen, when to offer a thought and when to let silence do the work, is the difference between a conversation that feels like a dance and one that feels like a negotiation. Most people are so uncomfortable with silence that they fill it immediately reflexively with anything, and in doing so, they lose the most powerful communicative tool available, the pause. A pause says, "I am not in a hurry. What you just said deserves a moment. I am not reaching for my next line. I am still with you in what you shared." That is not emptiness. That is presence. And presence is what every human being is searching for in every room they enter, in every conversation they begin. And beneath intention, beneath consistency, beneath rhythm, there is authenticity. The quiet magnetism of a person who is not performing, not managing impressions, not calculating, just present, just themselves with all of their complexity and contradiction and aliveness. In a world saturated with curated personas and optimized self-presentation, a person who simply shows up as they are carries a frequency that cannot be manufactured. Jung believed that individuation, the lifelong process of becoming fully genuinely oneself, was not just a psychological ideal, it was the source of the deepest human magnetism. The people we cannot forget are not the ones who are most polished. They are the ones who are most present, most unguarded, most willing to let us see something real. When your inner world and your outer expression are aligned, when your words are not rehearsed but genuine, when your warmth is not performed but felt. Trust is created, not because you said the right things, but because what you said and how you were said the same thing. And so we arrive here at the end of 6 words and one principle that is in truth not an ending at all, but a beginning. Tell me, I understand. Thank you. Imagine I remember. Say these not as technique, but as truth. Say them from the place inside you that actually means them. And watch what happens. Not dramatically, not all at once, but quietly, persistently, in the way that real things grow. Someone starts reaching out more often than they used to. Someone laughs more easily in your presence. Someone shares something they've never told anyone, and they're not sure why they trusted you with it, only that it felt right. Someone thinks of you unbidden in the middle of an ordinary Tuesday. Someone realizes slowly and then all at once that being around you feels different from being around anyone else. That is not magic. That is not manipulation. That is the natural consequence of becoming someone who makes other people feel genuinely seen, heard, and remembered. Carl Jung believed that the deepest longing of the human soul is not success or pleasure or even love in the romantic sense. It is this: to be known, to be received, to exist fully in the presence of another person without hiding any part of yourself, and to find that you are still perhaps more than ever wanted. These 6 words are a path toward that, not a shortcut, a path walked with patience, with sincerity, with the willingness to be as present for another as you hope another will be for you. Because in the end, the connection you create in others is a reflection of the connection you are willing to have with yourself. The depth at which you meet another person is the depth at which you have learned to meet your own interior. And this willingness to go deep, to stay real, to make another soul feel that they are not invisible, is the most quietly revolutionary act available to any of us. You don't need to be remarkable to be unforgettable. You need only to be present, to listen when others perform, to remember when others forget, to say we when the world insists on I, to see truly, consistently, lovingly see the person standing in front of you. Do that, and you will never need to chase connection again. It will find you. It always finds the people who have learned to offer it. At Carl Jung philosophy, this is what we believe: the work is not self-improvement as performance, but self-understanding as a path to genuine human contact. And if something in this video landed in you, if a word, a moment, a reflection touched something real, then the work has already begun. Drop 11 in the comments if this video opened something in you. 11 is the master number of awakening, of a door swinging open inside you that you didn't even know was closed. Let this community witness your moment, because even the act of saying, yes, this reached me, is a form of connection, and connection is where everything begins.